Jamar Perkins. It's crunch time. It's crunch time here live in the studios of Austin Peay. Zach Pew joined as always by Jamar Perkins and Reece Britt. Gentlemen, we only got 2 episodes left. This one and next week's our finale. It's kind of bittersweet because then we got one more season and I'm gone. So I'm happy to be getting these final few chances with you guys. As always, we start with how was your weekend? Reece.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
No, it was good. Just kind of hung out. Didn't really do too much. It was just kind of it was just kind of chill. I mean, watched some football, did some stuff like that. Honestly,
Right.
can't really remember too much of what I did this past weekend. Just with everything that I've been doing this week, it's been crazy. So
You watched the Tennessee game, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I did.
And we'll recap that obviously.
Yeah,
as
we
get,
will.
We get
We
more
will.
closer, but
I've got some things to say about it. Not
Okay.
bad, not good, just very neutral.
Very.
So,
I assume a lot of UT fans have some neutral ideas
yeah.
for that. For
Oh
that
yeah,
one.
I'm fine. For the viewers out there, I am fine.
Yeah, he's
Do
good.
Not worry.
He's good. He's not bad. We actually talked that day, I think,
Yeah, we
as
did.
well. So, Jamar, how was your weekend, man?
It was all right. You know, now that I think about it, I feel like that was like a week ago because I feel like we tape our show on Thursdays.
We
Next
do.
our weekend.
It-
It's like
it
Reece
feels-
said. I kind of
yeah,
forgot.
I
what
It
literally
feels-
forgot.
it-
Like,
it's
I was
just-
like, dang,
It's just one of those things, you know. I don't know.
I did get to see Tennessee get smacked though. I was on the TV screen, and you know it's funny because my job is locally owned, and it's a UT fans. A whole bunch of people in the UT
Oh, yeah.
jerseys just walking
Oh, dude.
around.
Everyone out
Like,
here.
we'll get them next week, and it's funny.
I mean, you are going to get them next week, and the
only
week
play
after that,
Rocky
because you
Top.
don't have to play. You don't have to play anybody that hard anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
you got Mizzou this week, Vanderbilt after that.
at South Carolina, at Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. You're not having to worry about anything.
But I will say, we'll get into football. I was going to
Right.
talk about more football. But Zach, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good, man. I'm going to keep mine short, sweet, and simple because I can't complain, and if I did, it wouldn't do me no good anyways. With that being
Amen.
said, though, we go talk to get straight into APSU sports, and now that is what this segment has turned into, thanks to Governors basketball starting as well. Congrats to the APSU Govs football team on their away win against North Alabama, a close game with a final score of 38-35. The Govs will face Kennesaw State this weekend. That's an ASUN conference opponent, obviously. This was a much-needed win this week. Kennesaw is another much-needed win this week. If they win both these games, the 20th is our bid-in day. Obviously, we will not have any shows coming up after that date, but that is our date that we would have the bid-in. So look for us at APSU CrunchTime or APSU Twitter, at APSU CrunchTime on Twitter to be able to find some updates about that.
I saw an article on Leaf Chronicle that was he basically, George Robertson, the guy who writes for Clarksville, he said
Right.
that Austin Peay is out. Like they don't have a chance to make the playoffs.
Right,
So
I
I don't know
mean-
if they're even it's a small chance or are they completely out.
I think this win here gives them a bid chance, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's really just a bid, and I think it's more the assessment that they are out, but the hope is still there, right?
So
So we have to
see-
keep the hope alive, obviously.
In what I think the committee or whoever picks the teams have to realize is Austin Peay's only lost one FCS
Right.
conference game.
Right.
You know, they haven't lost to another FCS because, you know, Jacksonville State's FBS. They've lost to Western
Central
Kentucky.
Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
They lost to Central Arkansas. And they actually had the lead at the half in that game.
Well, and Central Arkansas was 1 for 4 for when they faced Austin Peay. So it
Yeah.
was not just a loss to a team that they shouldn't have lost to. It was a team that didn't have a winning record when they went in.
Right.
So I mean, but it's at the end of the day, any given Saturday for college football, right?
Yeah.
And for what you're saying, I mean, that is something they have to take in consideration. They've only lost to one team for the
Right.
FCS, and that is Central Arkansas. Everybody else has been above them.
And Central Arkansas, I mean, they beat the Kennesaw State, the
Yeah.
team that Austin Peay is going to play this upcoming week, 51-24. So Kennesaw State has struggled this year. Let's just say that.
They
And
have.
they were picked to win too. They were picked to win the ASUN in football.
Yeah.
But
They were.
I mean, I'm excited for Austin Peay to kind of get to finish out this first year in the ASUN, hopefully with a positive record. I mean, which I think they should be able to get so far. But
I think so. I think 2 more wins plus, even if they lose to Alabama, they get a positive record, I believe. So I mean,
Yeah.
which like we all know, that Alabama game is coming up on the 19th. We'll talk about that next week more and more as we get closer to it. The Governors basketball though is in full swing. The women's team that we get a chance to call on ESPN Plus now, Mr. Jamar Perkins is the play-by-play announcer. I'm just getting the chance to come in and kind of be an analyst from time to time with him. The women's team has won their home opener though on Monday against Cumberland. They're now technically they have 2 wins under the belt, but the first one didn't count. It's an exhibition game. But they won 81-35 against Cumberland, a massive win for the Lady Govs. They travel to Chattanooga to play this Saturday. Jamar, you got any more on this for me?
Yeah, Chattanooga is definitely, I think, going to be a true test. Obviously, our first two, the exhibition and the scrimmage, we were playing a bunch of, smaller schools, should you say. But Chattanooga is tough. They played Belmont last night. I watched the game, and they had Belmont beat, and they absolutely choked. I mean, like, I was watching the game, like, they looked like high schoolers out there in the second half. So
I believe it.
I think Austin Peay has a chance to beat them, but they're gonna have to bring their A game. There's a couple of players on their team. There's one. Her name is Yaz Wazi Rudin. I'm gonna have to say that on the radio a lot of times.
You are.
So good luck to me. But no, I think Chattanooga. I think it'll be a closer game, and but I definitely think it could be a really nice statement win for Austin Peay to take them out this Saturday.
Pregame for that starts at
5:45.
5:45. All right. You can definitely catch that on 91.9 FM close. WAPX FM Clarksville is 91.9, Magic 91.9 locally in the area. Or you can catch it online. Go to the Austin Peay women's basketball schedule. Click on the live audio recording, and you can get a live audio recording of that currently as well, anywhere around the world. And basketball, unless you guys – I was talking about men's real quick. But
You
you
going
guys
to be in the
got
studio,
anything
Reece?
Do what?
Saturday, you going to be in the studio?
I don't think I will be. I'll be out this Saturday, but
I'll be here for a little bit.
There
Not
you
a
go.
lot, but for a little
Well,
bit.
you get Zach for a little bit.
I was just hoping
but-
a little halftime report. But
No, I'm just letting people in.
You guys been liking that?
I
Little
love
Oh,
bit?
dude,
love
it's been
it.
awesome.
Okay.
It's
All right,
awesome.
good.
We used to have something like that, like I said, and we stopped doing it. And I'm so happy that we get a chance to have it back. You know.
Glad to do it.
The men.
Yep. The men's team had a tough loss to open the season. They fell to NC State 99-50.
What did you say? What was the score?
99-50.
Okay, so
We looked at that game too. They will face
during
Purdue
the game
this week.
Being transparent with
Tomorrow.
the viewers,
Friday.
during the game we were talking about it at halftime because we were in the middle of calling the women's game against Cumberland, and we said during on air we'll keep you guys up to date on the score to the men's NC State game, and we didn't do it.
No, we
and we
didn't.
were like, oh, dang,
Well,
Zach.
because our
better.
game got so good. I
Yeah.
mean, like, even though it was a blowout, the women's team
were
were
playing
making
good.
shots left and right, dropping shots at the buzzer. I mean, it was such
it
a
wasn't
good
a
game.
boring blowout.
It was not a boring, not for the Governors. For the
but-
Cumberland maybe, but not for
Yeah.
us.
But
But no,
glad we didn't do it though.
Yeah, because what was it? We were walking back,
It was a 40-piece.
and it was a 40-piece when we were looking back, and they still lost by 49 points. So
Oh,
They
didn't
Purdue
get- yeah.
have a chance to bounce.
you
back.
had a comment about this, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to note NC State was preseason picked last in the ACC. So, with Austin Peay, we're wanting to make the tournament. We're wanting to maybe make a deep run, win the ASUN conference. But, when you're getting 49-pieced by preseason picked last in the ACC, that's not ideal.
Yeah, Purdue's going to be rough tomorrow.
Yeah. And
After
I
seeing
think
that NC State score, I don't.
Right.
I want to have faith. I want to be the fan and have faith in my school and have faith in my college team. That's disheartening to see.
Bellarmine beat Louisville. Yeah.
Really?
And
Louisville's got a good team.
They do, and they were actually picked in the top 5 to finish in the ACC this season. They were picked to make a really, big splash, kind of back onto the college basketball scene for this year. So,
I mean, that's nice though to see Louisville catching up because we know Kentucky's going to start kind of taking some steps down, as well. I mean, it doesn't. There's other schools in that area that are just so big basketball. It's nice to see Louisville stepping up finally for that area.
I agree.
Moving forward, let's talk about some college football. The college football rankings that I currently have: Georgia at number 1, Ohio State at number 2, Michigan at number 3, TCU at number 4, Tennessee at number 5, Oregon Ducks at number 6, the LSU Tigers at number 7, USC at number 8, and at number 9 is UCLA. And rounding out the top 10 is Alabama Crimson Tide at 7-2 record. Reece, I got to start with this.
yeah.
We obviously saw a rough game against Georgia and Tennessee. It was not the game any of us thought it would be. We thought it'd be closer. We thought it'd be a much even match. I watched Georgia fans on Facebook dog the Vols. I watched them talk about how the Vols talked about the stadium not being relevant because Neyland was so good. I'm going to go ahead and admit that Bulldog Stadium was every bit as loud as Neyland was against Alabama. Every bit.
And you would think
Judging by the sound frames
Right,
and judging by the little decibel things they did during
Right.
coverage, all
Right.
the stuff they tried to prove, it looked like that was a larger sounding game.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. With Georgia's defense, obviously it looks like Tennessee will face them again in the future, either in the SEC championship or we'll see them possibly in the college football playoffs. We've talked about that. What does Tennessee got to do better to beat Georgia?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I saw in that game was one, all the games we've played, big games, I'm talking
Right.
Alabama, we played Kentucky, we've played Florida. All 3 of those games have been in Neyland Stadium.
Can I pause you for 1 second
Yeah,
and
sure,
just
go
say it's
ahead.
really weird to hear Kentucky called as a big
Yeah.
school, even though they are top 25,
I
they're
was gonna say,
24th in the
they're top
country.
25,
It's so nice to see Kentucky have a football program instead of a basketball program. But continue.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say those 3 teams were all in Neyland Stadium. And Alabama probably being your Biggest win, maybe second biggest win,
I'd
not
say-
counting LSU.
I'd say your biggest.
Okay, sure.
Because it's the
We'll-
Crimson Tide.
Yeah,
And there's so
you're
much
right.
history
There's
between those two
history.
teams.
You're exactly right. So we haven't, Tennessee hadn't really gone on the road, especially to a hostile environment like what Georgia was.
Okay.
And so I think where we saw the biggest disconnect was the physicality up front.
Okay.
You saw Georgia's defense and a lot of players on offense play like the 5 stars that they are.
Yeah.
Their recruiting. They have stacked #1 recruiting class, number
The
2
next 2
recruiting.
years.
Well, really, for the next 4 years. Go
fair.
4 years back, they've been in the top 5, top 3, pretty much every single year.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
Tennessee
Bama's been
hasn't
up there.
done that.
UT had one recruiting, I think,
Yeah.
during Pruitt's time.
That
I think
was
during Butch
7
Jones'
or
time they had
6.
one
Yeah,
in the
they
top
had one
10.
at like 2. I
Yeah,
remember that.
so I remember those, but I mean Tennessee does have those issues because of the
Right.
coaching history and everything else. They
Exactly.
weren't getting recruits.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what we lose sight of is what Josh Heupel is doing and the Tennessee program is doing with the players they have.
Right.
Because these players were overlooked. These players stayed through the whole debacle of what they had to deal with. And what they're doing on the field right now is special. And I don't think the national media is giving enough
No,
attention
they're
to
not.
them and into that specifically.
And I want to mention too, and for those that don't know, looking at the big board right now, the early big board I think for Mel Kiper Jr. shows at least 10 Tennessee players in the top 50.
Yeah.
I believe, on the big board right now.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Just to give reference, 10 players usually don't get into the top 50.
Yeah, you're
Not from
exactly
one
right.
team.
Right,
And
yeah.
most of them, of course, are from the offense. Not many defensive players from Tennessee that are on there, but a lot of them are wide receivers.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing for anybody that needs a wide receiver in the NFL, like
With
most of our
speed.
teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all of our teams, I think, sitting right here need some wide receivers.
yeah.
Check Tennessee's
So,
roster for that.
with that being said, I'm looking at the schedule for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tennessee can get up to number 3. I know that we've talked about Tennessee possibly can jump to number 2. I think personally, based off of strength for the rest of their schedule and who they have above them, I think Tennessee can get to number 3 and make it to the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
That's my early prediction of right now.
Is that you saying that Michigan or Ohio State?
I
one of
believe
those two
Ohio
teams are gonna
State.
lose?
I believe Ohio
play
State
each other.
will. They play each other, and I believe Ohio State will
good
beat
point.
Michigan in 2 weeks. I think so. I think it's going to happen. I don't think Michigan's got the team to handle Ohio State's quarterback situation. I love the Harbaugh family. I think they're great, and I think Jim is awesome. I don't think Jim can coach better than right now than Ohio State's players, because Ohio
good
State
point.
is playing really well.
Yeah.
And no offense to Jim Harbaugh, but Michigan and the Wolverines have a lot of problems still, even though they're in the top 4.
Yeah.
Because they've won games barely. I mean,
Right.
not saying Ohio State hasn't won games barely either. Stroud only threw like 79 yards last week.
Yeah, it was not very good.
not
The
good.
weather was bad. I'll give them that.
But
still, you know.
they look like a much better put together team as an Ohio State team
Mm-hmm.
and a chance to win a championship compared to a Michigan Wolverine team that still has a lot of question marks on defense.
Yeah.
New defensive coordinator, a lot of new different pieces still rotating. There's just too many questions there.
Yeah. And this is what I'll say about that game is if the weather is sunny and 45,
Right.
I think Ohio State wins.
Oh, yeah.
But that game always has something. It's either
Oh, yeah.
rain,
Michigan always
wind,
tries to do
cold
something,
weather.
yeah.
It's always cold.
And
And
I
if it
think it's-
snows, Michigan has that game probably by 14
I'll
points.
double
Mark my word.
I'll double check for the episode next week, but I think Michigan is the home team for that game.
It's Ohio State.
Oh, is it?
Yep,
Oh,
it's
see,
at Ohio
that's
State.
That's even tougher.
Yeah.
That's even
But-
tough.
All right.
We got to move
We'll
forward.
see.
We got to move forward though, real quick. NBA news and standings. I'm going to give you the top 10 in each conference. Right now, the Western Conference, just from what I got on Tuesday, I know these have changed, but Utah was leading right now. Phoenix at number 2, tied with Portland, and also tied with Denver. Then you got Dallas, Memphis, LA Clippers, and New Orleans, and then San Antonio and Minnesota rounding out the top 10 for the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, you've got Milwaukee, Cleveland, Boston tied there. Boston's tied for 3rd right now with Atlanta, Toronto, Chicago, Indianapolis. Sorry, my bad. I don't know why I said that. New York Knicks, Washington, and Philly. So with that being said, we have a lot of interesting. It's been a lot of interesting times right now for teams. There's Golden State's not in the conversation. The Lakers are in the conversation right now for the East. Obviously, Golden State did a couple of games earlier. I think what was it? Curry dropped 47 in a game.
Yes, sir.
So that's good to see. What I find extremely interesting, Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving suspended for at least 5 games for anti-Semitic comments. There could be another suspension coming, by the way. There's a lot of stuff still surrounding that. So Brooklyn could very well be out of the conversation for a little longer.
I don't think he should be suspended longer.
That is the conversation. He did apologize finally.
And he also met with Adam Silver, and they said it was a positive meeting.
It was a positive meeting, but he still has at least 5 games with no pay as a suspension.
I mean, I think it's yesterday they played the Knicks. It was like his 4th game already.
Yeah, no, I know.
So
He's
he
still
only
got
has, like,
one
more
left.
game.
Yeah. But for us reporting on it, it was just still 5. As long as nothing else is said, he won't get suspended again, right? LeBron James is nursing an injury. Pulled his leg last night or the other night against the Clippers. Has a sprained knee right now, I think is what they're saying. Yeah. But in general, it's been an interesting time. Jamar, I know you've been keeping up with the NBA. Anything really out there right now for games that are just wild? Any type of highlights you want to talk about or anything like that?
One team I would like to kind of briefly mention is the Cavaliers.
Cleveland's looking good.
They are.
They look really good. Surprisingly, too. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody really saw the Cavs coming out and being this great. I know Minnesota was predicted as one, but the Cavs I didn't see coming out.
One thing I like, too, is not only do you see the Cavs, but you also see the Utah Jazz that were involved in that trade, and they're also looking good, too. So to see that, it's very nice to see that both of those teams kind of came out successful. But, I mean, looking at some of the teams, too, we talked about the Warriors. I don't even want to talk about them that much. They're struggling right now, which is true.
Wait a minute. You don't want to talk about your team when they're struggling? What?
No, because you know what? It's not much to say. You know?
No, you're right. It's early in the season. There's plenty of basketball left, right?
Plenty of basketball. They're going to turn things around.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they always do. Now, I mean, we don't have to go 73-9 to win a championship. We didn't do that last season. So, I mean, Warriors are still winning the championship this year.
Boston fan, did you feel a little shade over there? I did as a Memphis fan, but I wasn't trying to be offended. I was because I lost before the finals. So
yeah, it was.
But
you know what? Kudos to you guys. Y'all played really well, and I think you guys are going to be there again this year. I really do.
I really do too. Unfortunately, I don't know many teams in the eastern side that are going to keep you from going.
One thing I did want to, Zach, you might have some. We talked about this, Reece as well. Boston, or not Boston? I'm sorry, Brooklyn. They ended up going with their interim coach. They stuck with the head coach.
Okay.
And
good.
Coach Ime Udoka did not get fired.
Good.
Because I believe outside sources, they said Adam Silver, but basically there was too much conflict with Udoka, and they didn't want to bring him in, which is, I mean, it's tough.
The question right now that surrounds him is, will he stay in Boston after this season?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's got the suspension. I don't recall how long the suspension is. To be honest, but I mean, will he stay? Are they trying to find any way to replace him right now? I mean, that's the question, because I mean, he did violate league rules. He violated rules from the contract from Boston.
Yeah.
So it's tough for any team to go. And we'll talk about coaching hirings obviously in a couple minutes with the NFL, but it's tough for any team and any organization to be like, you broke our rules, we're still going to hire you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What made me so angry is that they're being so strict about this, and they're not hiring him, but we still do not know what happened. I mean,
this is the one thing we're kept in the dark.
Yeah,
it's all speculation.
It's one thing we're kept in the dark of, and the NBA has done a good job with this, because with Phoenix being so much in the light about what happened with the owner, and this is not the first time that we've had owners and coaches be in trouble in the NBA in the last few years. This is the first time that we've had one be kept so much under the dark.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the last time that news was reported on a coach, and especially pertaining to, you know, someone of the opposite sex and other stuff like that. I don't remember the last time that it was just swept kind of under the rug like this. It's like, well, we suspended him, he's good, we're done with talking about it. Like, are we done talking about it?
The NBA seems to
keep
do
bringing it up.
a good job at that.
You know what I mean?
In my opinion.
Recently, these last few years, they've been really good at it. Maybe 5-10 years ago, that's a completely different question.
Right. Yeah.
Anything else on the NBA before I move on?
Let's move on. I think we're dragging a little bit.
We are. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have anything else. You know what I'm saying? I want to real quick congratulate the Houston Astros for winning their World Series, their first since 2013. They did it in 6. I got that right. I just wanted to pat myself on the back. And good job, mainly Trey Mancini, not the Houston Astros.
I did call the Astros winning, and one thing we talked about last week, I did say 5 games.
Yeah. And I blame you, because I almost did it too.
We talked about it, and I talked about how Justin Verlander never won a game in the World Series. Well, he got it done. He got it done.
How about that interview with his wife?
That game, Kate Upton. What about it?
Yeah, that interview, how she was so supportive.
But did you see? And then people compared it to Tom Brady.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
man. Such a supportive wife. That just she's okay with him playing. He's 39 years old, still in the MLB.
And he can still play.
People said it was different, though. I looked at kind of comments, and they're like, I mean, Justin Verlander's not going to get
took a couple years off.
300-pound linebacker.
No, but he can take a 182-mile-an-hour fastball coming off a bat to his head and break his jaw. Just saying, velocity off the bat is a lot harder to deal with than a football tackle. I'll go ahead and tell you that already.
The percentages of that happening, though, are
Hey, man, you say that. We had over 25 players in the league last year get hurt with head injuries from either getting hit from a pitcher or getting hit from a ball coming at them.
Yeah, there's a lot more sacks than there
are.
No,
I
agree
in the
with
league
you.
I agree with you.
Getting people getting hit by.
But would you rather have your jaw broken, or would you rather hit the ground a couple of times in a sack?
Obviously, yeah.
I mean, since we're talking about it, I saw something today. My wife showed it to me, but what's her? Giselle pulled a Kanye West. She bought a house right next to Tom Brady.
She did. So her kids could be near him.
Which I like that.
I did too. I thought it was very nice. They're going to co-parent really well, and they're going to be great together. Don't get me wrong. I just don't understand that whole thing.
Also, did the Astros not win the World Series in 2017? Or are we kind of sweeping that one under the rug?
I read
since
that
the
it was their
cheating
first one
scandal,
since
or-
2013 is what I've been being reported on from MLB Network and
Okay.
ESPN.
So maybe they did just kind of
Maybe
the whole cheating
I
scandal
mean, I know they had the
happened.
cheating scandal and all that. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll go ahead and say it. I don't count 2017.
Well, the only reason I bring that up is because I just remember Altuve hit that bomb and he was jogging around the bases and he
Right.
like had to like hold
There
his
was-
shirt so they didn't rip it
And
off.
there was still controversy with that, by the way. Just to quickly say it, there was controversy from Phillies fans and Astros fans accusing both sides of the team at pitch selection and pitch reading, which means they were reading the pitch before it came in. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, Randy Johnson, Hall of Fame pitcher Randy Johnson, told every person when he was throwing a changeup or a fastball, guess what? He still had to hit it.
right.
And so I don't care if you knew what pitch was coming to you. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You still have to hit the ball.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day,
exactly right.
that's the thing with baseball. So if you're an Astros fans or a Phillies fans and you want to argue about cheating as I look into this camera, tough. It didn't matter. You didn't hit the ball. Even if you knew the signs were coming, doesn't matter. You knew what was coming and you still couldn't hit it.
Quick question for you two. You want to make sure we're on the same basis. Would we
Sure.
say that baseball is the hardest professional sport?
I think it's number 2 behind, and I'm not being biased by this. I think golf is tougher to be successful at.
Okay.
at
I
the
agree with
highest
that. I
level.
also say boxing's in the top 3 for that.
That
though,
is
too, 'cause
true.
boxing's
That is true.
it's very, it's very hard to get into.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jake Paul. Jake Paul has not fought a boxer, but yet has got a good winning record, and they want to say he's not a boxer. I don't think he's a boxer either because you haven't fought a boxer, personally. Until you get in the ring with a professional boxer, you are not a boxer. But I will say that baseball is in the top, maybe the top 3 sports, one of the top 3
I think
toughest.
definitely top 3
Because
Yeah,
you have to go through so much to be good.
Yeah.
And you have to do so much just to get on a lineup to make it there.
Yes.
That there are over thousands of players that do not make it compared to the NFL that has the pipeline and some other stuff, and the NBA that has the pipeline with the G's, the G League and all that. Yes, you have the minors, but minor league players until this year weren't making anything.
Yeah.
They were living in a 4-bedroom apartment, stacking into or a 2-bedroom
Sharing,
apartment,
yeah.
stacking 4 guys into a
Shame.
bedroom.
And just because you get drafted
Doesn't mean you're gonna do
you're
anything.
even going to sniff
Exactly.
the major
That's a
league.
good
Speaking of
point.
which, I want to quickly transition into the NFL because that reminds me, former quarterback Jason Eason, I believe was the last name, played for Georgia Bulldogs, was released today. After Sam Darnold finally was added, he was a practice squad member for the Carolina Panthers. He was a 5-star recruit in college and high school. He played for Georgia. They won a national championship with him as a quarterback, and yet still is not playing in the league, is not a quarterback that's going to be picked up. Just insane that guy with that much talent. That to me is a credit to what we were just talking about with baseball and golf and everything else about being a harder sport to play in.
It's cutthroat.
But moving in, NFL standings, picks, and news. News right now, Josh Allen may miss some time. So if you have him on your fantasy team, you might want to look for another quarterback because he has suffered a right elbow injury during the last Jets game that was on Sunday. It has not been cleared or fully determined how much time he'll miss or if he'll miss any time.
I was told that he missed the Vikings this Sunday.
Will he miss the Vikings this
I
Sunday?
saw
If
that
he
source
misses the
told-
Vikings this
I
Sunday,
saw that.
I will go ahead and tell you Minnesota will win that game even because Casey Keenum is the quarterback for Buffalo as backup. I think Minnesota wins that game. But also, Frank Reich is out as a head coach of the Colts. They have hired former center Jeff Saturday as the interim head coach. But Saturday has 0 coaching experience. Was this the right move? I'm just going to ask you guys yes or no. Was it the right move?
I believe so.
Yes?
I'll be there.
Jamar?
No.
I think, personally, he has so much history with playing with that team. It makes sense. I don't think he's your permanent coach, though. I think you're going to go find somebody else. I do wish that Gus Bradley would be considered for a head coaching job because he's their DC, and he deserves to be a head coach. Standings within the National Football League. Currently leading the AFC North is the Baltimore Ravens at 6-3. Tennessee leading the AFC South at 5-3. Buffalo 6-2 right now is still leading over the Jets, even though they have that loss. Kansas City 6-2 right now. Minnesota at 7-1 leading the NFC North. Atlanta tied right now at 4-5 against Tampa Bay. Philly at 8-0 right now at the NFC Beast, and Seattle right now at 6-3. Look, there's only 8 weeks left in the season. We'll get into this more next week, obviously. But just real quick, I'm going to ask you, what team has shocked you the most this season?
I'm sorry.
So far.
I'm sorry, but Reece, when he said NFC Beast, you went.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
It's because he's in the division.
He's
He
in the
thinks
division, but he's not.
Yeah,
Also-
they're 4-5.
No,
Don't worry about that.
I want to put this on record. If the Washington Commanders were in the NFC South, they would be leading the division, and they probably
You're
would
right.
be beating they probably beat every single person in that division head on. Taylor Heineke went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady in the playoffs.
See, that's my question is
and
TV.
beat him.
That's it.
And beat him in the regular season last year.
Okay, I'll give you that. Okay.
By
okay.
2 scores.
So
By
what
2
team has shocked you the
scores.
most?
The Eagles. They're
The Eagles?
undefeated.
They've shocked you the
lost.
most. What
Yeah.
team has disappointed you so far?
The Bucs.
The Bucs? The Bucs are your disappointment? What about you? Shocked the most?
I think Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Yep, I like Minnesota.
Okay, I like that. I like that call.
Changing my answer to the Rams.
Who's disappointed you the most so far?
Washington.
Washington's disappointed you the most so far. Team that shocked me the most so far this season, so far, just looking at these stats, I am very shocked by Philly. I didn't think Philly was going to be 8-0 starting out the season. I thought Philly was more like a 500 team going into the middle part of the season. I didn't think they were going to be 8-0. That's awesome for them. A team that's disappointed me the most, though, this season has been Tampa Bay. Tom Brady coming back was, to me, it just felt like Brady was trying to get that last ring. It makes no sense that they're struggling this much, and I really do think that the Bucs should be cleaning it up a little bit. Early MVP talk. There are a lot of players that we could consider for this, although
There's only one.
you say Jalen. I know that, right?
They're undefeated. You
No,
can't count against
I
them.
get that. I
don't
get
think you
that.
can.
But you got to also
That's a
consider
great
players that have kept their team in the games and kept their team in a chance for a playoff picture, because there are teams that still have a chance to punch a ticket. I would say Cooper Kupp is in that conversation. Justin Jefferson's in the conversation. Kirk Cousins in the conversation. And I'd also say Nick Chubb with Cleveland Browns, except for the fact that the Browns are sucking. I think that Nick Chubb deserves conversation of being a chance for an MVP because he's the only reason why they're winning games.
I like Kirk Cousins. And can I also say, when we're talking about, he's not an MVP candidate, but can I say that I have Joe Mixon on my fantasy team?
I like that.
And that he scored 5 touchdowns this
Yeah,
past
NFL
week?
record for him and for Cincy at least, I think, too. So that was a good thing for him. So with that being said, your early MVP, who you got?
I'm gonna have to just keep it Patrick Mahomes. He's the
Pat
betting
Mahomes?
favorite, plus 200.
If I had to pick one person, it's Jalen Hurts. It's Hurts because he's doing so well, and compared to last season to this season, it's a polar opposite of quarterbacks. Even in throwing, he looks better.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get talking into these games. Don't have much time. About 4 minutes left here. Thursday night football is tonight. Atlanta favored by 3. It's Marcus Mariota versus the Sam Darnold-run Panthers. At least that's what I'm hearing right now. Is Darnold gets the start tonight instead of P.J. Walker, which is the dumbest move by Carolina. Who wins this game? Jamar.
The Falcons do.
Falcons win this game by 3 or more.
More.
Okay. Reese.
Yeah, Falcons as well.
I got the Falcons as well. So does Trey. Jay. Wicks has Atlanta. Joanne has the Falcons as well. We all have the Falcons. I think it's the 3rd time ever that we've agreed on a team for once. So that's awesome, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go into the Sunday night football game. Chargers versus 49ers. This is a tough one for me. I contemplated the Chargers, but there's too many injuries for the Chargers for me to pick them. I'm going with the 49ers because they have too many weapons. Reese, let's start with you. Who you got?
I'm going to take 49ers to win the game, but I will say Chargers plus 7.
I like that. Jamar.
49ers, and I like what you said, Reese. I think it's going to be a close game.
It's going to be a close game. I think it's a 3-point game, not a 7-point game. For that game, we've got a lot of people choosing the 49ers, mostly choosing this. No one chose the Chargers for that one either. Let's talk about Monday night's game, Commanders versus the Eagles. Now, Reese, I know you got the Commanders. I'm not going to ask you who you got. I already know
I'm never
that.
going to bet against them.
I know.
I can't do it.
I've got the Eagles. I don't think 11 points is fair though. I think that's going to be a closer game than people think. But I know you got the Eagles.
I have a question, Sue. I have
Sure.
the Eagles, and then did you say that everyone picked the Panthers? Or everyone picked
the
Falcons?
Niners. Yeah.
The Falcons, Panthers. And you say everyone picked the Falcons?
Yeah.
So that's 2 in a row?
So no, I'm going to need you to change that and put the Panthers, because in the email, Jay said the Panthers. No changing. We're charging him Panthers tonight.
All right.
It's official in here.
I got you.
So
I got
heard
you.
it there first.
I got you.
You're
I got
listening,
you.
Jay. But no, I have the Eagles, and I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns.
All right.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, all right.
At Philly.
This week's game of the week
Okay.
is in Germany. Jamar's pick this week was the Seahawks versus the Bucs. I love this pick, man. I think the Seahawks are playing amazing. I love that Carroll is talking about how good Geno Smith is playing. I was going to go with the Seahawks. I'm actually going to go with the Bucs because the Bucs are one of the most heaviest favored teams in an international game that we've ever seen this season. So I'm going with Tom Brady and the Bucs. What do you got? Same?
Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Reese?
Bucks. Give me Seahawks on the spread, though.
I think Seahawks are going to make the spread too. I actually think if they keep it in a 3-point game, the Seahawks have a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, guys, week in and week out, I've been so thankful for you guys being here. Did you like the little paper spin?
Love that.
Right.
Clean.
Thank you guys so much for taking your time out of your week in and week out. It's always fun doing the show with you guys. I want to thank real quick Trey, Jay, Wicks, Joanne, David Ellison, Steve Sawyer, Dr. Von Palco for letting us use the studio. As always, you can find us online at APSU CrunchTime on Podbean or on Twitter or on Instagram. We do a live feed before we start the show. We share our questions week in and week out. Join us on those online platforms to talk to us and get to know us a little better as announcers before we end up leaving. With that being said, guys, it's been a wonderful show, and I will see you next week for our finale, and we'll see all of you next week as well. It's been another great episode of Crunch Time.